All right, so we're working on a moss wall or Moss-scape inside these wooden boxes that are 4 by 6 feet. And these were made with barn wood that's about 3 inches high so that it creates, and just plywood on the back. And that way we've got something about this deep to build the Moss-scape inside of. So come on up closer and I want to show, well, first of all, I want to show the mosses that we're using. I ordered this huge box of just preserved sheet moss that is actually in not very big sheets. It's very, very crumbly, but all this crumbly stuff we have figured out how to use, and that's one thing I'm going to show. This moss is reindeer moss. And then the third one, we've already emptied the box, but the pieces are these little islands that you see all over, and we glued them down first. This is mood moss. It's the thickest, and it's also in the biggest chunks. So that was the first thing we laid out. We put those out like little islands in our great big box, and then we're filling in. Now it's really gritty, super gritty. So that means that, and yeah, we're doing this all with glue guns. I'd say the bigger the glue gun you can get, the better, because we're going through a lot of glue, and it would be a lot easier if the tip on this glue gun was bigger and shooting out more like a thicker thread. But, okay, so here's what we're doing. I've just been taking handfuls of the mini sheet moss right here, and then the reindeer moss, and I've got little chunks of it sitting up here so that I can fill in. Uh-oh, look at this. Now this is a piece of that mood moss. You can see how thick that is. That hadn't been glued down yet. And it's probably because I was thinking it would be really good in this spot to cover this piece right here, because you need something nice and thick right there to hide that and not make it look obvious that there's something underneath there. All right, so then once that's glued down, it's basically filling in all the blanks, and you want to have a variety of heights and thicknesses and different colors, so you want a really good balance of everything to fill in. And then you also want a clear path, and so the way I'm getting it that clean is just wherever I'm going to work, I'm just blowing back the loose stuff to get it out of the way. At some point we'll use the vacuum again to suck up the grit as we start running out of spaces to blow it out of the way. And now I'm going to show you, it's real easy to hook in the reindeer moss because it's big chunks, and all you got to do to hook that in is just squirt a bunch of glue on there, give it a push, and then brush a little bit to see if it's loose anywhere, and then hide a little bit more underneath there. That stuff is great for filling in the little blanks that are brown, or that, like, there's a little hole right there, and I'll probably put some right there, so let's just do that. But we don't want any pattern at all because we want it to look like it's actually growing on the wall where we're going to hang it. Now I'm gonna make a grid of glue right here, so I'm going back and forth one way and then back again because I want plenty of glue for this next thing, because I'm going to use some of this, I need to go get some more of it, some of this really loose moss out of this box. So there's a piece that's actually holding together, and then here's another little piece with lots of loose stuff on it. So I'm going to put that little chunk right there, and it's kind of like doing a puzzle. I'm going to stick that one in there, and even though I've got a little flappy piece right there, it doesn't matter, it's hooked on. That'll look more natural. And then I'm going to clear a space. I'm running out of glue, and stick that one down right there. And so the pieces like this that are really loose, you can still use those. You just squirt some glue to get a little space for it, pinch it together and stick it in. And I realize when we set this thing up, a lot of stuff's going to fall off it, but once we have it upright, then we can go back, probably with the reindeer moss, and just tuck it in to fill in any holes that have been created. And I also read that you can, this is preserved moss, and it's fairly dry and not real crunchy, but it's fairly dry. Other than this, it's spongy. I've read that you can mist it down, even though you do not have to do that, but you can do it to help it stay a little moist and a little more alive looking. And that's it. And the reason that we're using preserved mosses is, if you use the real stuff with a bunch of soil on the back of it, it's a completely different story about how you stick it down, and then it has to be absolutely soaked almost daily. So this is going indoors. We're putting it in a gallery on a great big wall like this. So there's, it's not practical to spray it all down and wet it every day. This will take almost no attention to keep it. If something gets a little brown and doesn't look good, which will take a long time because I've used mosses before and it takes them a long time to get that dried out, you can always just come back in with a little piece and glue it back in there. All right, I'll probably do another one of these to show how we're going to make this look like it has come alive with the ferns and lilies for Easter.